Download this code and get free GPT-4o from codegive.com, link in the description below. Certainly. Implementing a circuit breaker pattern is an essential technique for building fault-tolerant APIs. The circuit breaker pattern helps to prevent an application from repeatedly trying to execute an operation that is likely to fail, allowing it to recover and improve overall system reliability. What is a circuit breaker? A circuit breaker is a design pattern used in microservices and distributed systems to handle failures gracefully. It monitors the success and failure rates of calls to external services, like APIs, and can open or close the circuit based on their performance, effectively controlling the flow of requests. Key states of a circuit breaker. 1. Closed, the circuit is closed, and requests are allowed to pass through. The circuit breaker monitors the responses. 2. Open, when the failure rate exceeds a certain threshold, the circuit breaker opens, and requests are immediately rejected without attempting to call the service. 3. Half open, after a timeout period, the circuit breaker allows a limited number of requests to pass through and checks if the external service has recovered. If successful, the circuit closes again. If it fails, it remains open. Benefits of circuit breaker. Prevents cascading failures, stops the application from failing due to repeated calls to a failing service. Improves system stability, reduces the load on the failing service, allowing it to recover faster. Latency reduction, improves response times when the service is down since it avoids unnecessary waits. Implementation of circuit breaker. Let's implement a simple circuit breaker using Python. We'll use the pbreaker library, which provides a straightforward way to implement the circuit breaker pattern. Step 1, installing required library. First, you need to install the pbreaker library. You can do this using pip bash pip install pbreaker. Step 2, basic implementation. Here's a basic example of how to use the pbreaker library to implement a circuit breaker for an API call. Python. Import requests. Import pbreaker. Import time. Define a circuit breaker. Circuit_breaker equals pbreaker.circuitBreaker. Fail_max equals 5, number of failures before opening. Reset_timeout equals 10 time to wait before half opening the circuit. Function to call an external API. Def call_external_API, URL. Try. Response equals circuit_breaker.call, requests.get, URL. Response.raise_for_status, #raise an exception for HTTP errors. Return response.json, #assume the response is in JSON format. Accept requests.exceptions.request exception as e. Print, f API call failed, e. Raise. Main function to demonstrate the circuit breaker. Def main. URL equals http://example.com/API #replace with a real API URL. For I in range, 10 attempt to call the API multiple times. Try. Result equals call_external_API, URL. Print, f API call succeeded, result. Accept pbreaker.circuitBreaker error. Print, circuit is open. API call failed. Retrying later. Time.sleep, 2, #wait before next attempt. Accept exception as e. Print, f an error occurred, e. Time.sleep, 1, hashtag wait a second before the next attempt. If underscore underscore name underscore underscore equals equals underscore underscore main underscore underscore main. Hashtag 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 explanation of the code. 1. Circuit breaker initialization. The circuit breaker is initialized with fail underscore max equals 5, meaning it will open the circuit after 5 consecutive failures. Reset underscore timeout equals 10 means that after opening, the circuit will wait for 10 seconds before allowing a limited number of requests to see if the service has recovered. 2. API call function. The call underscore external underscore API function tries to call the external API. If the call fails, it raises an exception that is handled in the main loop. 3. Main loop. The main function attempts to call the external API multiple times. If the circuit is open, it catches the circuit breaker error and waits before retrying. Hashtag 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 testing the implementation. To test the circuit breaker, you can use a service that you know will fail or just modify the call underscore external underscore API function to simulate failures by artificially raising exceptions. Hashtag 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 conclusion. The circuit breaker pattern is a powerful tool for building resilient APIs. By implementing it, you can significantly improve your system's fault tolerance and user experience. The example provided demonstrates a simple circuit breaker using the pbreaker library in Python. You can extend this concept to fit into larger systems and frameworks as needed.